Hi everyone, my name's Arush, and I'm from Team 1441 Don't Blink.
Hi, I'm Vishnu. I'm from Team 8813, the Winter Soldiers.
Hi, I'm Amanda from Team 8813, the Winter Soldiers.
Hi, I'm John from 8813, the Winter Soldiers.
Yep, so as you guys know, we have one of the best teams in Iowa here with us today. And I'm super excited for this one because I got to take a sneak peek of their notebook before, and it looks absolutely fantastic. And I know they have a lot of tips to share for all the other teams out there. So yeah, this episode will be great with them. Thank you so much for John, Amanda, and Vishnu for joining us today. It's going to be a blast, like talking to you about your notebook, some of the documentation, as well as some of the outreach you do. So I'm personally super excited. And this will be the third episode of FTC Files. And just something to note from last episode, the way these episodes will be spaced out are going to be on a 2x2 day basis. So we'll release them every 2 or 3 days. And yeah, so with that being said, let's jump into this episode. All right. So our first question is, can you just tell us a little bit about what your team does and like kind of your positions on the team?
Okay, so our team, the Winter Soldiers, is a 7th year team, and we have a total of 15 students from Bettendorf, Iowa. For the past 3 years, we've been the Iowa State Championship Inspire Award winners, and in Rover Ruckus, we got nominated for the Think Award at Worlds.
Wow.
We are, so my job on the team is CAD design and, of course, notebook related to design for the robot. And I also help out with mentoring in our community for the First Tech Challenge team.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Vishnu, you want?
Yeah, so although I don't do CAD and design on the team, I do a lot of programming. So last year, our lead programmer kind of stepped down. So hopefully I'm going to try and do that, kind of take up that role. As well as that, we have a lot of new members this year because a lot of our older members graduated. So we're going to try to get them more involved in the into CAD and programming, things like that, because those are kind of where the fun is at.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I also do primarily CAD and design and engineering notebook. I do a little bit of outreach.
Yeah, that's amazing. You guys have it divvied up really well. And that's also something that's super important, I think, having kind of like that really good backbone of organization. I know for our team, it definitely helps when we have like the sub-team segregated. So yeah, that's great. And yeah. All right, so our second question is, how exactly do you format the daily logs in your notebook and kind of the structure behind that? Do you mind talking about that a bit?
No, we don't mind at all. So our team, for our engineering notebook that we submit to the judges, we actually submit two, and one of them has our daily logs that are actually our meeting notes, and the other one is a more condensed version that has the interesting points that we want to hit on, like details of our design process and details and reflections about our outreach. So our official notebook is not really daily logs, but our daily logs that we do are just, they're in a separate notebook.
Got it.
From our main. I know some teams use their daily logs as the bulk of the material for their notebook, but we decided to take this strategy so that we could get the most important, outstanding information for the judges to see in our main notebook.
Yeah, that's really cool. One thing like I personally like about the way you format all this is that you kind of have like a whole design process within your notebook itself. And I just like how the information is broken up into like what you're actually thinking when making the robot or when making the subsystem that you're focusing on. Because like you can see a clear trend going down the notebook where you have like your problem, what you guys do, the steps you take, kind of deciding what to pick and choose. Then you actually start prototyping, building, and then you refine them at the end. So I think like that's super cool because not only does your notebook have like a proper structure to it, but also because it's really easy for the judges to see kind of your thinking and the iterations that went to a particular design. So I'm a huge fan of that, definitely. Alrighty.
Yeah.
So our next question is, can you talk about like your design process and how those sections are laid out, kind of?
Yeah, so at the top of our like design section, we have like all of our iterations, and then we have our design process. This usually like changes every year. We've sort of like evolved it down to this. This is the one that we formatted our notebook on in Skystone. And so for each, like, we have the preseason, we have League Meet 1, League Meet 2, League Meet 3, League Meet 4, League Meet 5, and qualifiers, worlds, and state. So under each of those, we have each step of the design process. We have a little bit of an overview at the top, and that keeps it all pretty well organized for the judges to see. Yeah. And so the design process is kind of more complicated than we show it here at face value. Like sometimes maybe within, like say the prototyping step, we'll actually like prototype something and then find there's like a problem, like something is too weak or something, and like then we'll basically go through the whole design process to fix that. But like we keep it just labeled under like one step at the top level.
Yeah, but they're like
because that keeps it a lot more organized.
Yeah, one thing that I noticed, and I picked up this on like the last episode of FTC Files with 3101 Boombots, is that you have all the pictures properly labeled with captions, so it gives better contextualization. And this is actually one of my favorite parts of the notebook that you have here. Like putting all the ideas onto like one main page. I think that's super cool because like, you kind of have everything laid out and there's not really a bad idea. So I really, really like what you did there. And just overall with the format of the notebook, especially considering like your design process, I think it's super well structured.
Yeah, so for the virtual season, we couldn't have an in-person meeting to do our brainstorming. So a lot of our ideas ended up being for this ultimate goal season. They ended up being Google drawings. Yeah. So they're not sticky notes and hand drawings this year.
Yeah, I know. I feel that. We just made like a huge Google Doc with a bunch of like ideas, and we just like spit everything out there for our team. But Google Drawings is pretty great because you can actually like draw stuff on there, which is really cool. I think. Yeah, go ahead, John.
Something we've been like starting to do every year. We will like pretty much come up with all of our ideas in like usually like an Excel spreadsheet or a Google sheet. And we'll just have all of our ideas, like by functions, whether that's like lift stones, gather stones, and we'll just put all of our ideas in there. We'll put benefits, costs, and harms, which is sort of like pros and cons, and like, will it take a long time to design? Will it be very expensive? Yeah. And then once we've done all that, we'll put pictures in there. And then after that, we create a decision matrix, which is pretty helpful for like getting some intuition for how the designs will work. Sometimes if we're not sure about what to put for some of these numbers, we will make prototypes, sort of, again, doing the design process like within one of the steps. And then once we have those prototypes, we can sort of revise our numbers. And like after each competition, if we find that something worked better or something didn't work as well as we expected it to, we can go back in and change that as well. And it has this conditional formatting on it, so it's like very intuitive to see which designs are scoring higher and which designs score lower.
Yeah, so all of those numbers are like a weighted score for the ideas based on each criterion. So that really helps us understand which designs we want to use.
Yeah, that's really like it has a lot of information packed in there, and I think it really helps you make a good decision. Our team could definitely use something like that, and I know a lot of other teams can. So this is a pretty good tip to pick up on.
Yeah. So Vishnu, are you still there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So our next question is, how exactly are the outreach sections laid out, and kind of what is your thinking behind like the stuff there?
Yeah. So like John and you mentioned before, our notebook's a lot based off organization and keeping it concise, so, as well as easy to read for judges. So we for our outreach section, we split it up into kind of community events, mentoring, and then professional connections. So all three of these usually fall under the Motivate Connect Award. Mm-hmm. So it really helps outline what we want to show inside our notebook. And then each section kind of starts out with an overall event description. So whether it's going to another FLL team and helping them, or reaching out to a company for maybe a sponsorship, or just help overall with our own team.
Yeah.
We've given like an event description. Yeah. So that kind of tells what we did there and what we were looking for. And then we move on to things like statistics. So how much time they gave back to us for maybe a company, or how much time we put in for someone else. And then finally we end with reflections, because they're kind of the best way to show what we as a team got out of the event itself.
Yep. That's a great format. And I like how you incorporated like different aspects of outreach and not just focus on like one specific thing. I know a lot of times people think that, the bigger the outreach, the better. The more outreaches you have, the better. But it's actually like the quality of the outreach that matters a lot. And I think you touched upon that really well.
Yeah, we really try to make sure it's like we have like deep impact. So it's not like something where people will see it and they'll be like, oh, that's cool. And then they'll never really see it again. We want to like take the extra step to make sure they'll try to get involved or something like that.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes your team really, really strong contender for the Inspire Award, because you're going for that impact, which is really, really cool. All right. One more question we had was, what exactly do you keep in mind when writing your notebook? And just a small few tips and tricks over there.
Okay, so in our notebook, we are usually focusing on making sure that we have concise information that is not like repeated over and over again. Mm-hmm. And what we want to do at the end is put in labels for pages that we think are most important or impactful. This is actually part of one of the notebook rules. But we like to have big infographics too on the sections, like you saw at the top of the design section, because this really draws readers into the section because it's big and colorful and exciting. And so that was a new thing we did last year, and I think it went pretty well.
I really like that. Yeah, go ahead,
John. Something else we try to do is have statistics on our infographics that sort of gives the judges an idea of what's happening.
Mm-hmm. As well as that, we also, especially for at the beginning of the season, every season we always run into this problem because it's kind of hard to avoid 100%, but making sure that you have enough info, but when it comes to competition time, that there's something in your notebook that you can give as evidence or proof that, hey, we did something here. We'd like to show you to it because we actually did do it. So it's better to always have more info before you go than having less and trying to like kind of try to bring it back from when you went there. So it's a lot better to concise than make it bigger.
So like not doing things like write down a lot of information right after the competition instead of like trying to remember all the small details later, because like if you have a lot of information you can always like sort of slim it down later, but you can't make it bigger later.
That's definitely true. Yeah. I know a lot of times what teams tend to do is like after a competition they would like work on the robot following their design process or whatever, but kind of forget about like the reflection aspect. And I think that in your notebook, one thing that I noticed is you have a reflection for every single thing, which is really, really good. So that's something that I read through when I first saw the notebook, and I was like, wow, these guys have like every single detail from the league meets all the way up to states and worlds. So yeah, that's crazy. So that's really good.
Yeah, we really don't want the readers of our notebook to think, oh, they just jumped to that conclusion, and we don't quite know why, or they came back from that competition, weren't really thinking about their notebook, and just sort of came back later.
Yeah, that's absolutely amazing. All right, any final tips you guys have for rookies, especially considering like the season's all virtual?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be pretty great to have it virtual actually, because we don't have to print it out. In the past, we had to throw away a lot of paper from the old notebooks.
Yeah, I didn't think about it that way. That's definitely good. Yeah, actually, now considering like so many teams have like big notebooks of like 2 binders each, that's actually a lot of waste of paper. So I definitely agree with you there.
Yeah. So one thing for rookie teams, when you're starting your notebook, it's really good to have an outline of all the sections that you want to have in there. That, like, following that outline can make it less paralyzing when you're getting started. And then in the next years after that, you can follow the same outline or revise it.
Absolutely, yeah.
A few other tips we have is make sure you're saving pictures of everything. Like, once again, like, you can't go back in time and take a picture of something that you forgot to take a picture of. CAD screenshots, CAD renders, all of those are useful. Put dates on your pictures. So, like, if you come up with an innovative design, if you have a date on it, then the judges will know that, like, you were the first to come up with that design, for example. Also, like, don't be too afraid to, like, describe failures. Like, word your description in sort of a constructive way, but really say what didn't work well and what worked well and what we're planning to improve over each competition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think... Oh, you can keep going, John.
You can...
Okay, just to like kind of add on to what John said, I think most people think, like especially when writing their outline as well, like the point of the engineering notebook is to tell like what your final product was, which obviously you should mention when you got somewhere in your engineering notebook, but your outline should kind of follow progress, so what you changed and what you improved, because that's kind of what shows that you actually took something away and learned something.
Yep.
Another thing is like research and learn about design tools, like whether they be like equations that you can use to like calculate something, or like a Gantt chart to organize your work, or a team calendar, or anything. I know there are also some other design cycles other than the design process that are a little more involved. I think Toyota has one and Rolls-Royce has one, and just like look around for those tools that you can use to like have some like scientific backing for your decisions, and some of those tools just help keep things organized, and you can get better robots, better results, and you can make your engineering notebook like easier to look at as well.
Yeah, actually, something that just segues into one of the things that FTC Files does is what you mentioned with the companies, like kind of looking at their documentation to take inspiration for, the general notebook of a lot of teams. And that's something like we as a community really aim to do, because we just don't want to focus simply on, just notebook from other FTC teams that are, super amazing and great, but like not take a look at how that actually applies in real life, or how real life notebooks or real life documentation can inspire and make your notebook better. So that's something that's definitely a good point there.
And one way you can actually do that is by reaching out to companies or fellow FTC teams or family friends and just ask them to read your notebook and give feedback. I think that's something that a lot of rookie teams overlook.
Yeah, definitely. All right, well, thank you so much. This was really great. You guys can follow Winter Soldiers on Twitter at FTC8813. And also take a look at our Discord. It's on the screen right now. And these videos will be uploaded to both YouTube, and a small snippet would be on the Instagram account for our team. And yeah, thank you guys so much. This has been absolutely fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah.
For sure.
All right, we'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Bye.